Hi Matthew,
Hey Eva,
welcome to the show.
thank you.
I'd like you to tell me about mad pride.
Yeah, so mad pride is something that's very personal to me. It's something I came across through learning about mad studies, which is a discipline and philosophy of mad people's knowledge. I use the term mad in a politicized way. It refers to people that have been, medicalized, that have experiences with mental health or experiences with the system, but often have experienced discrimination or oppression as a result of the system and or society. So for me, mad is about reclaiming that identity that has been used in negative and pejorative ways. And part of mad studies has evolved as an academic discipline from mad pride. And mad pride really came about in the 90s, mostly in high-income Western contexts, where people were resisting and revolting the pathologization of madness as an illness, as a diagnosis, as a disorder, as a disease. And many people, often living with terms that we use such as psychosis or schizophrenia, bipolar, we're actually saying, well, my lived experience says something different. It's much more broader and beyond an illness narrow paradigm. And maybe for some people it becomes a problem or it becomes harmful or destructive. But for many of us, we view our experiences through the lens of pride, through the lens of solidarity with one another. And for many of us, we find great gifts and wisdom in our experiences of madness, whether that be a revelation, whether that be insights and wisdom into the world or into our own life and recovery. And I can certainly speak to some experiences that I've had where I've found a source of pride in my states of mania. But also I value experiences that I've had in sadness and guilt and grief and shame, which might be labelled as depression or being suicidal, having crises of the world. I value all of those experiences and I don't see them through a narrow lens of illness, disease, disorder, or problem. Yeah.
Well, speaking on that, I'd like you you mentioned something to me, and I know that your mother was somebody that you mirror one another's psychological states, yes?
Yeah.
Can you tell me something about the spiritual gift of madness and how that relates to how that relates to your motivations?
Yeah. So I lost my mother to suicide. I was 9 at the time, and my mum was a psychiatric survivor, was in and out of hospital, and as a response to very human things, family violence, poverty. Her parents had abandoned her and rejected her relationship with my father. And as a consequence, she was a young woman who had dreams and hopes and had 3 young children to look after. All of those conditions ended in her, experiencing psychosis, what psychiatry would define as psychosis, and very severe depression. So for me, learning about mad pride, learning about madness and finding wisdom and strength in madness, I had a manic or euphoric episode where I realised I was her and she was me. And I came out as non-binary to honour her spirit within me and her legacy, really. I would call her a mad sister, a mad ancestor. And I very much channel her energy, her spiritual energy in the work that I do. I wouldn't have entered the spaces that I've entered in international mental health if it wasn't for experiences of extreme states such as mania, which again took me into the realm of vision and revelation and thoughts about how to change the world. Madness for me entered a portal of seeing the world for what it was, which is at the moment, destruction and ending in chaos. So for me, madness was a way forward of addressing the ills of society, but also in channeling and embodying the grief, the loss, but also the deep connection through the unison of madness with my mother and myself.
Let me know how you navigate between brilliance and destruction.
Yeah, well, there's a great text that I follow from sort of the Icarus Project, and Sacha de Brule and Jackson McNamara, and they talk about navigating the brilliance and madness. I think that's a difficult one. I think that for me is what we call recovery in the mental health system and complex. I think I try and affirm my experiences of madness. I think they can become, a problem and harmful for myself when I'm not a hold of them. So that looks like, understanding, when I'm entering extreme states that I'm not in control of. So some of it's about control and being aware of states of being. So, opening up, 6 credit card applications in a month is not so helpful. Taking out a home loan when I don't have the money to do that is not so helpful. Getting my dad to buy and sell cars for me to make money with it, 4 cars within a month is not helpful. So it's about harnessing the gifts, particularly where mania is somewhat tethered and in my control, where it's creative, where it's ecstasy, where it's ideas and visions and writing and emotion, that feeling of really, just that really deep feeling of embodiment that you get in a euphoric state. It's about harnessing that state without it allowing to consume you and become those destructive kind of examples that I just gave, where I can become very irritable and agitated and at times like quite aggressive. Particularly if the mania has been triggered by injustice and it's a response to rage, it's injustice, it's politics, which I've taken from my mother as well. I have that really strong sense of injustice and rage. So mania can also be protective in a sense, but protective in pushing people away too.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just want to pick you up on the word recovery. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but mental state such as you are challenged with, is there such a thing as recovery from a state such as that, or is this lifelong?
I think it's different for different people. I mean, I see madness as a part of who I am.
Yes.
I don't subscribe to the psychiatric view that you live with mental illness for your entire life, because I don't subscribe to that illness paradigm.
Yeah.
But I do, to some extent. I think madness will always be a part of who I am.
It's a colour.
It's a colour, it's a shade, it's part of the spectrum. And part of Mad Pride is also about honouring that madness is part of the human spectrum, just like neurodiversity.
Absolutely.
It's a human diversity, it's a psychosocial diversity or a mental diversity. People use different terms around the world, but I understand it as part of my humanity, my deep humanity. If anything, it reveals reality to me more than sanity and not being in an extreme state. I think I've learnt the most in my life when I've been through active periods of madness. So I take great inspiration from that.
Madness as a gift. How have you harnessed it, and how does it manifest in your life?
Yeah, well, I guess madness has taken me to international activism. Again, channeling my mother's spirit and energy. You sort of mentioned before, you weren't expecting to talk about my mother. Well, you are speaking to her. We're speaking together.
Yes.
And I feel, I have to keep reminding myself of that too. I think madness, it's important to be humble and have humility. Some of Mad Pride and the literature hasn't been so humble. I don't romanticize madness either. I think it is important to be harnessed. But for me, it's manifested in a very strong sense of human rights, a very strong sense of what it means to be human, and a very strong sense of justice and political activism for my community, my MAD community, or our MAD and neurodivergent communities. And I think it's taken me to spaces that I never thought that I would enter, from being a kid in foster care, in a single parent household, in a very low income environment at school and at home, experiencing a lot of abuse and neglect. I never experienced to be speaking at the United Nations. I never expected to be recognised and acknowledged by the public for the work that I do, because to me this is just my journey. I think maybe to others I'm seen in a different light, but to me this is just walking my journey, and I feel a great sense of, I guess, recovery and enlightenment in being able to speak truth to power and share my experiences, because there was so much shame for a long time. I was suicidal for a long time, and I felt there was something wrong with me, and I felt that intergenerationally as well. So I think being able to channel madness through activism, through politicising my story but also my community story, is the greatest gift of all. And being able to connect through madness with my mother, there's no greater gift than that to me, and that's very much grounded in a lot of grief but a lot of healing as well. Yeah.
So just let me know some of what you are doing at the moment. Tell me how you're appearing on the world stage.
Yeah, it seems strange when you say the world stage, because I have, I guess, come and gone from Melbourne a bit the last few years, but a lot of my work is around agitating international global institutions that I think are problematic and that are sanist, that are discriminatory towards mad people. So those institutions include psychiatry, religious institutions, states, heads of states, and governments, which can be highly oppressive towards mad communities. We're seeing a lot of eugenics logics coming back, a lot of discrimination at the moment in the US around autism and around mad people and immigrants. So me getting involved in political spaces where there's opportunities for social impact is really important. So I've been a lived experience consultant with the World Health Organization, and part of that was around developing a framework around how governments can meaningfully engage with people with lived experience. So how they can share space and listen to experts by experience on the ground, but also employ them within these systems and services as well, to ensure that lived experience perspective is just one of the disciplines of knowledge that we draw upon when making social change in society. So I very much come to lived experience work from a public health perspective, but focused on mental health. So the main issues are around obviously human rights, decriminalising suicide in places around the world, ending coercion and ending seclusion and restraint and restrictive practices. I'm very big on advocating around putting in measures to put an end to anything forced, and addressing, I guess, the broader ills of society, the social injustices that drive a lot of distress in society. So that includes, equality, housing, access to quality education, fighting and combating stigma and discrimination, all those structural issues and social determinants that obviously drive a lot of despair and distress in society. And then the other side of it all is also promoting a mad pride perspective. And also promoting that madness has multiple truths. I don't hold any one truth on madness. I think I have a level of humility and humbleness to accept that madness is a foray into the unknown, and I accept that. I think that there's some mystery, and I hold that mystery. So that's the other part of my activism, is actually around looking at alternative frameworks to the psychiatric illness disease paradigm. So what are the social, cultural, spiritual and political explanatory frameworks for our lived experience, our lived realities?
Wonderful, Matthew. Wow. You've blown my mind, and it's been fantastic to speak with you today. I really hope this has given a new perspective to people, especially around the mad experience. And you're just so eloquent and so well spoken. And thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure, and really appreciate all your work and activism as well.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Eva.
Thanks, Matthew.